All right, let's get started. Uh, this week, we have a reasonably more just a link, yes. Okay. All right. So anyway, what we have this week is pretty much the end of the Japanese New Year and the action of the the Chinese. The market was closed for a week, and it will open tonight. And we will see now if the sell-off will continue. The major thing that has been taking place was the repatriation or repatriating of the Japanese currency. People were exiting the Japanese market, and a lot of people were buying, actually borrowed the Japanese yen in order to buy stocks. And because of the movement that's been happening in the stock market, a lot of people were trying to sell and get out of their Japanese stock market position. And that, of course, resulted in a lot of people moving in to buy. I mean, this is the Nikkei. As you can see, the Nikkei here. We actually do have, this is a weekly chart, we have a structural failure on the Nikkei. And right there, and pretty much that stock market is in a bear market now, or in a bear market territory, moving downwards. And the structure was followed by a major sell-off. This amount of sell-off, people are selling the Japanese stocks. They are selling it in Japanese yen, and then they are returning the Japanese yen and getting their own currency. And as a result, the Japanese yen was flying. You can see also the S&P. Technically, this is a weekly chart. Pretty much we're sitting at the structure right here. We're actually below the structure, so this is quite serious. I mean, the stock market is serious. If you look at the Dow Jones, pretty much they're all the same. I mean, they're sitting right at the structure. I mean, on the dailies, they have broken down. As you can see here, we had a break, which we discussed several weeks ago. And now we came down to the secondary structure point, which is the major one. I mean, right here in the Dow Jones, right below the 1573, 1537, we will enter into a major bear market, which will take us pretty much, if this breaks, back to the the 2001, which if this breaks, we're looking at another 3,000 move, 3,000 point decline on the Dow. And the same thing with the S&P. And you can see that the S&P also, technically, it has broken below the structure. So we should be able to see the follow through to the downside. Friday, we had some buying coming in. As you can see, there was some buying coming in. This buying that came in was primarily short covering. It's not genuine buying. It's a long weekend. Tomorrow is a holiday in the United States. The U.S. exchanges are closed, and China is going to open. So we have two major things. I mean, the U.S. market is closed, and there is nothing they can do about it. And the Chinese market is opening, and people are not really sure what kind of or what's going to happen in either in one or the other. So there was some short covering that came into the S&P. If you look at the UK stock, the same story. I mean, we had a little bit of short covering. The German, the DAX, I mean, this is in pretty bad shape. The DAX is pretty much in a bear market already. It broke it. Several structure points have been broken in the DAX. I mean, there is one right here, and then there is the second there. So we should be coming down. I can see the DAX coming down to somewhere around the 8,300. And this kind of move, this kind of decline that you should be able to see here, this decline to the downside like this, if it continues, means that the euro should be going up into the opposite direction. So the euro will be going up, and the DAX and the CAC and all that kind of stuff are coming down, and the S&P and the NASDAQ. Gold has made an impressive move to the upside. Again, people are scared, and they're trying to park their money. This is a major move to the upside, which again, it's temporary, but it tells you what's happening in the market. With that said, we are going to see what news is coming out next week. So we have the Japanese GDP coming in tonight, and it's pretty much the same. I mean, we don't expect anything major changes in it. The major drive behind the yen is the repatriation of money that's coming out of the stock market. So if the Australian market comes down, the Chinese market comes down, and if the Nikkei comes down, this number will pretty much become irrelevant. Our dear friend Mario is going to speak on Monday at 2 o'clock. He's going to testify in front of the European Parliament. He may refer to the situation and what he needs to do, but we also have something that is quite important on, I think it's on Tuesday. The German Constitutional Court is going to rule on the constitutionality of the ECB doing the outright monetary system or the monetary easing that they're doing. The Germans said that this is not constitutional, and they filed the court case, and the German Constitutional Court is going to issue its decision on Tuesday. Of course, if it says that this is unconstitutional, then this means that it will limit what Draghi can do with regards to the easing, if you will. I'm sure, I think most probably the ruling will be that it is constitutional, but it is something that it will create a lot of volatility between him speaking and the German Constitutional Court coming out is going to be. On Tuesday also, we are having the dairy prices in New Zealand, and as you can see that the prices have been coming down, and as a result, this goes in the direct direction with the New Zealand. So if the number is bad or negative, this will have a negative impact on the New Zealand dollar. And then after that, we have the FOMC minutes, which again, it will not be different than the testimony that Yellen has done. And basically, they fear what's happening with the global economy. And I think, as I have mentioned to you several times, that there was no reason or cause to raise the interest rate. And now they're talking about whether they made a mistake and now they should be cutting back the interest rate, which I don't think they will do that. But again, when the Federal Reserve Bank is pressured by news media and pressured by talking heads, we get into the problems that we're in today. And that's why one of the reasons that the US dollar has been selling off badly. And even though they raised the interest rates, but it's selling off badly, and this is good news, bad action, so we have to keep an eye on that. We also have the unemployment numbers on Wednesday in Australia, which is the monthly unemployment. This is pretty erratic number. As you can see, it goes up and it comes back the following month. It goes up one month and it comes down. It's like the Canadian employment number. It's pretty much crazy, and I don't know how they're coming up with these numbers. But we have to keep an eye on it on Wednesday. And then we also have the British claimant number. I saw it. Yeah, it's on Wednesday. And the people that are claiming, the expectation that it's getting less and the employments, the earnings are higher. There is a good employment rate in the UK. It's about 5%, which is close to full employment. This is good. I mean, they cheered the United States that it broke below the 4.9, below the 5%. So the employment in the UK should be a good number. and it might slightly be supportive of the British pound. So, in short, there isn't too many big news events that are coming out except for the Constitutional Court in Germany and what Draghi is going to say. And of course, we have to keep in mind the effects of the opening of the Chinese market. And if the Chinese market capitulates or sells off, this will take the Nikkei with it. This will take the, which is the Japanese stock market, the Australian stock market with it. And of course, this will push the yen higher. So the summary of what we have next week is we have the US building, which is, again, nothing that is going to have a real effect. The FOMC minute, which they are going to tear apart. I mean, it's just feeding the media. And that's pretty much it. So going back to the technical aspect of things, or how we trade, if you look at the dollar index, the dollar index broke below that structure point, which is 97.22, and technically we are in a bear leg. I mean, this is on the daily chart. The trend by every aspect is up with regards to the US dollar, but on the daily, this means that when we see a structural failure like that, this means that we're going to have a correction downwards. And we tested the 95.29. We bounced off it on Friday. Again, all the movements that took place on Friday last week, we have to take it with a grain of salt because of the long weekend in the United States and coming out of the Chinese New Year. So nobody in his right mind is going in with big positions open into that. So there was a lot of short covering. But we can expect that the dollar to continue at least to retest the 95.29 and maybe push down towards the 93.73 area somewhere out here. So we will be looking at the dollar with a bearish point of view. So we'll be looking at the dollar with a negative point. So we're looking to sell any rally in the dollar during the next week. The next one we're going to look at, which is the quite important one, is the yen. And as you can see, we have broken above a major structure point in the yen pair right there. This is a structure point because this is the higher low and we broke above it, and this structure point was tested twice, which is the 86.23, and then we pushed extremely high. So most probably we are going to look for a test of the 91.48. So we will be looking to be buying the yen, i.e. shorting the yen pairs. So we will be looking at shorting the dollar yen, the New Zealand yen. So we'll be looking at taking the yen pairs short. So we will be looking at buying the JPY. The next one we're going to look at is the Aussie. The Aussie is still in a bear market. I mean, there's no question about it. It's pretty much in a severe bear market. It's been oscillating in this area up and down for the last 4 or 5 months, and pretty much going nowhere. So it comes down, goes up to the structure, rolls over, comes back up. So it's pretty much neutral. So we're going to be neutral on the Aussie. Then we come to the New Zealand dollar. This is actually weaker than the Aussie dollar. It is the one that's paying the highest interest rate. It is affecting their economy. They may be talking about cutting the interest rate. So there is nothing with the New Zealand central bank coming up this week. I think it's sometime in March or something they will do that, but most probably they will be cutting. But this way we'll be looking at the New Zealand with a negative bias. We come now to the euro. And as you can see, we pretty much I would say, I mean, yes, we're in a bear market. Yes, Draghi is trying to talk the euro down. Yes, they want the euro down. Everybody wants the euro down. But the markets are much bigger than what, let's say, talking it down would do. I mean, there really needs to be action. So until the Constitutional Court gets out of the way, until Draghi decides and announces actual physical action that will be taken, and until the stock market settles, I think the push, we might see the euro dollar come down up to this test the structure point, and if it goes above it, then it's going to be testing the next one. So the bias into the euro dollar is to the upside. So we'll pretty much be looking at buying the euro in general, but pairing it correctly against the right pairs. The next one is the Swiss. And the same thing with the Swiss. It's been quite strong. It's above the structure. It's sitting at another structure point here. Again, whatever happens with the euro happens with the Swiss. So we will be treating the Swiss in the same way with a slightly positive bias, the same thing as we're treating the euro. Last but not least, yeah, we have the Canadian, and then we have the Canadian is very interesting. As you can see, yes, we are definitely in a bear market, and this rally needs to be sold. We need to short it. We need to be shorting all this rally, so we need to sell it somewhere around the 74 area. Or if it breaks above the 73 and it fails, we want to take it short. But what's happening is this. This is the crude oil market. And as you can see in the last 2-3 days, there has been a lot of short covering in the crude. Again, going into the holidays, I mean, all of Friday is, we have to take it with a grain of salt, but this is serious short covering, and we might get some margin calls. So if the crude pushes higher, which most probably it will, then the Canadian will push higher. I mean, if you see the range of Friday in the crude oil, and you can see the range of Friday also in the Canadian. So crude oil and the Canadian, they are very closely correlated, and you can pretty much trade the CAD pairs by looking at the oil. If the oil is going up, then you want to buy the CAD. If the oil is coming down, then you want to sell the CAD. Pretty much that's the, so we would be neutral to positive on the CAD, at least for 1 or 2 days, seeing what is happening with the crude oil. So we're going to be, let's say, neutral, positive, cautiously positive on the Canadian. Last but not least is the British pound. And I mean, you have to give credit to Carney and to the Bank of England. I mean, they want this to continue to come down, and I'm sure they're looking to bring the pound down to the 140 level, which is the low of 2010. pretty much there. So even the number of votes in the MPC, there was 8-1 voting for a hike. One member of the committee was voting for a hike. Now, this member changed his mind, and it's 9-0 versus a hike. So, any good news or whatever that is going to come up in the pound pretty much will be sold. So, any strength that you see in the pound needs to be shorted. So we will be looking at the pound to short the pound on any strength or any rally. So we'll be looking at shorting the British pound. So the pairing that we're going to do, first of all, we're looking at the yen pairs. We want to go short the dollar yen. We want to go short the pound yen. We want to go short the Aussie yen. And we want to go short primarily the New Zealand yen. Then after we have these four, we can look at the Swiss yen, the CAD, I will leave the CAD to the last, and the Euro yen. So we'll start with the dollar, pound, Aussie, New Zealand. Then we can look at the Swiss yen and the Euro yen, and then finally the CAD yen. And if you look at your long-term system, you would see that we have all of the yen pairs are short on the long-term system except the Canadian. The CAD yen has been closed because, again, the movement in the CAD in the crude oil. So what we're going to do, we're going to focus on the dollar yen, New Zealand yen, pound yen, Euro yen, Swiss yen, Aussie yen, and then last but not least is the CAD yen. Then what we can do, in addition to that, after taking the yen pairs, we can look at the euro dollar. We can look at the euro New Zealand. We can look at the euro pound. And maybe the euro Oz. So the two currencies that we're looking to be buyers of this week are the euro pairs, and the two currency, is the euro and the yen. And then we're looking to sell the dollar, the New Zealand, the pound, the Aussie, and last but not least is the CAD. So this is the general plan in all. We're looking to be shorting all the yen pairs, and then be trying selectively taking the euro dollar, the euro pound, the euro CAD, the euro Oz, and so on. Okay? So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to start, we'll do the yen pairs. So we'll start with the dollar yen. And as you can very well see, I mean, this has turned pretty much into a bear market. And we broke below the 111.50 and we bounced above it on Friday. So the bias is still to the downside. We want to go short below the 111.51. And just trying to find the short entry. We can technically go short below 113. So the short point is the 113. The structural short point is below that is the 111. I'm just flipping between two screens because of the signal system. So the structure short point is 111.51. And you see, I mean, they really paid well last week. So 111.51 and the other one is 110.50. And the other one is 110.64. And on the upside, we should buy it if it goes above the high of the day. If it goes above the 113.47, the next structure point is the 115.56, and then the one above it is the 116.16. And again, the bias is still to the downside. So if we're going to go short below 113, I mean, the long is 113.47, so the 113.47 will be our stop. And if we go short below the 113, I'm sorry, this is the and if we go long above the one, we have to leave it, give it a bigger stop. The bigger stop is going to be the low of the day. It's going to be quite a big stop because it's It's going to be the 111.51, which is the structure point. 114, where does the 114 come from? So this is 111.51. Okay, so we're buying above the 113.47. The structure point above that is the 115.56, then 116.60. Below the 113, we're looking at a structure point of 111.51.70, and then below that is the 110.64. And the stop on the long is going to be 111.51 because and the stop on the short is going to be the 113.47. The next one we're going to do is the pound yen. And the pound yen, as you can see, has been annihilated. I mean, this thing has been destroyed. I mean, if you want to watch it, I mean, in December it was 185. In February, the beginning of February, it came down to 159.90.60. So 2,500 pips in the span of 2 months. And as you can see, when we say that the rallies needs to be sold, when you see a bounce like this, you want to be shorting as soon as it breaks below the structure. You want to take it short because it is in the direction of the trend. So this is reasonably a good situation because we closed above the 116.87, 163.87. So we will short it below one. I'm using this radar screen. I'll fix the other one later on. So we are going to go short below 163.87. On the long side, we will buy it above the high of the day. The high of the day is 160. Let's say the 165 because this is 164. Let's make sure 164.80. And the next structure long point is the 167.94. And if it breaks below the 163.87, the structure short point below that, it is 163.87. I mean, that's the structure short point right there. And it will be also our short stop. So we're going short below 163.87, which is right there. And it is going to be our short stop. As you can see, it is right here. On the long side, if we go long about 164.80, this will also be our stop, the 163, the 116. Okay, so we're buying above 164.80 The next structure is 167.94, and our stop is 116.38. The short point is 116.38. This is going to be our short, our structure short, and our short stop. Okay, this is the pound yen. The next one is the New Zealand yen. Yeah, I fixed it. Thank you. Thank you. I fixed it. This again is reasonably easy. As you can see, we're pretty much in a full-fledged bear market. And we closed below the structure point, which is the 75. So if it gets above the 75.09, we will look at buying it. This will be our long point, our structure long point, and our long stop. On the short side, we'll go short below the low of the day. Anywhere, actually, if you want to go short anywhere below the 75.09, as long as it stays there. But for the sake of discipline, we'll go short below 74.60. So, and the structure short point is 72, as you can see on the daily chart, 159, and we are going to use the 79 as our stop, because if we go short here, we'll use the structure point as our stop. Okay, that is the New Zealand yen. The next one we're going to look at is the Aussie yen. Again, looking at the daily chart, it's pretty much a bear market. And luckily, it came above the structure point, which is the 79.40. I think we can adjust this a little bit here. So if it breaks below that structure point, which is the 79.28, we will take it short. This will be our short point, our structure short, and our short stop. Okay, on the long side, we can take it above the high of the day, which is 80.70. The next structure long point is the 82.10. And the stop on the structure long point will be the 79.28. Okay. Terry, I just want to mention to you, I'm going to make the refund, but unfortunately I cannot access PayPal from Cairo because the IP address is different. So I'm having somebody in the States try to log in and issue the refund. I do apologize for the delay. Okay, this is the Aussie yen. The next one we're going to do is the now it's coming, don't worry. It's just the IP addresses and stuff like that. The next one we're going to do is the Swiss yen. As you see, the Swiss yen, the Swiss and the euro, they're just kind of neutral. So we're sitting here nicely above. So if it breaks below the 114, then we'll take it short. If it goes above the 116, we'll take it long. Again, because the euro and the Swiss are kind of fairly strong. So we're buying it above the 116.87. And we're shorting it below the 114.78. So these will be for the Swiss yen. We're buying above the structure point and we're selling below the structure point. Okay. The last one would be not the last one. We'll do the euro yen. As you can see, they're pretty much identical, sitting right at the same thing, the two structure points. So we will buy it above the structure point, which is the 127.70. And we're going short below the low, which is 125.90. So these are the two structure points that we're taking with the euro yen. The last yen pair is the CAD yen. And the CAD yen, all of them are the same. I mean, the yen is the strongest. So, but in our selection, we can take the pound yen first, we can take the dollar yen first. The least of them would be, or the last of them would be the CAD yen. And it pretty much nearly fulfilled its downside target, because the downside target is 78.36. But in any case, we can take it short below the previous daily high, which is the 81.55. And we have to get the structure. The structural point is 78.36. And our stop, if we are going to go short below 81.55, we can go short below 80 on the market side, 81.40, just to be on the safe side. The stop is going to be the high of the day, which is 82.10. On the long side, we will buy it above 82.10. The next structure point is 84.96. And we will use the 81. What's that? I did something wrong here. 82.10. $84.96, and the stop is the 81.40. The short is 81.40. The structure short is 78.36, and the stop is going to be, I will leave the stop also to be, the 82.10, the high of the day. So we're buying above 82.10. The structure is 84.96, and our stop is 81.40. We will go short below the 81.40. The structure short is 78.36, and our stop is going to be the 82.10. This, we have just finished the yen pairs, and we are at the top of the hour. So let's take a 5-minute break. We come at 7:05, and we'll continue the rest of the pack. So let's take a quick 5-minute break, and we'll come back and finish the rest. So we did the yen pairs. Now we're looking at the euro pairs and matching them, and the pound pairs, matching them with the Aussie and the CAD and the New Zealand. So let's first take the Euro Oz. Looking at the Euro Oz, it's pretty much sitting above the 158.30, which is a major structure point. And above that, you want to be taking the Euro Oz long, but as soon as it gets to the 162.50, you want to take your profits and run, because we have 48 hours before Draghi begins to speak, and we have 72 hours before the unemployment data coming out of Australia. So the 72 hours is going to be a chance for us for this thing to go up till here and to take our profits. So we're sitting at the 158.30, so we will buy it above the 158.30. The next structure point is the 162.50, and we'll use the stop. You will just remember it will flip-flop around here, so you can be patient while you take it, but it's going to flip-flop here. So we'll keep it as the 158.30. On the short side, if it goes below the 158.30, then we will take it short. And that is going to be our structure short. It's pretty much because it's sitting at the structure, so there isn't much improvisation we can do about it. So the 158 is going to be either we buy long above it or we stay short and take it below. The next one we're going to look at is the Euro Pound, or let's take the Euro New Zealand first. The significant point here is the 169.92, and again it's the same philosophy as the or the same principle that we're going to do with the Euro Oz. So we're going to buy it above the 169.28, which is going to be our structure long point and our stop. On the short side, we can go short below 168.52. The structure short is the 167.250. And our stop, if we go short here, our stop is going to be the 169.40. So we're buying it above the structure, which is 169.92. The next structure point is the 172.50, but again, it's the same structure. And we are going to put our stop below 169.92. On the short side, we're going to go short below 168.52. The structure short point is 167.250, and our stop is 169.40. The next one we're going to do is the Euro Dollar. And as I mentioned to you, I mean, if you look at your radar screen, your long-term radar screen, you would see that the Euro Dollar is now long, because the dollar is being shorted and we're having a push higher. So we want to be buyers of the Euro Dollar until our dear friend Draghi finishes his speech. So we're buying it above the previous daily low, which is 112.80. The next structure is the 114.65. And our stop is going to be the low of the day, which is 112.15. On the short side, we can go short below the 112.15, which is our stop. The structure short point is the 110. $9.28, and our stop on the short is going to be a tight one. We will use the previous daily, which is the 112.73, which is the previous daily low. So we're buying above 112.80. The next structure is 114.65, and the stop is 112.15. On the short side, we're going short below the 112.15. The structure short is the 110.92, and our stop is the 112.73. We did. So let's do the Euro Pound and the Euro CAD. Now, this is a crude oil trade. This is a crude oil trade. So if it comes below the 155.49, and you're listening to Bloomberg and CNBC and they're telling you that crude oil is rallying, then you want to take this short. If the crude oil is not rallying, then you wait. So this will be short below 155.49. This will be our short, our structure short, and our short stop. On the long side, it's definitely an uptrend. I mean, there is no, and this is just a correction. So we can buy it above 115.63. I'm sorry, 156, my mistake, 156.31. The next structure long point is the 159.95. And our stop is going to be the same because we're buying it here. Our stop is going to be the structure point, which is the 155.49. Okay, that is the Euro CAD. Next one we're going to do is the Euro Pound. We know the pound is in deep trouble, and as Khaled have pointed to us a couple of weeks ago, when it broke above the 75, we broke through one structure point, which is the 74.92. We pushed higher to the next structure point, which is the 77.54, and then we pushed higher. We came back now to the 170, to the 77, and we held. So if it breaks below this, we can take it short. Otherwise, we'll be looking to buy it, and pretty much that's the. So we will buy it below, we will sell it below 77.54. This is going to be our short, structure short, and short stop. As for the buy, we can buy it above the 78.20. The next structure point is the 78.73. And if I buy it here, we're going to use a tight stop, which is the 77.60. 77.59 as our stop. Okay, this is pretty much the euro pairs. Now we're going to do the pound pairs, and we want to look at also another easy trade, which I would like to do first before we do the pound pairs. And this one is the dollar max. The dollar max is a crude trade. You hear that the crude is going up, just short the dollar max. I mean, it is a no-brainer, absolutely a no-brainer. We have a structure point which is here, which is the 1880. Okay, so if it goes below the low of the day, which is 1888, the structure point is 1880, and our stop pretty much here depends on the oil, but we will say it's 1910. This is a crude oil trade, I mean, and everybody on television and all that stuff, they're talking about crude and WTI and Brent all day long. So if you see that the Brent is going, the oil is going up, then it's a no-brainer to take the dollar max short, taking the dollar CAD short, taking the euro CAD short, and taking the pound CAD short. If the crude is coming down, then you take the euro CAD long, the dollar CAD long, the dollar max long, and the pound CAD long. Okay, so I'm not going to put the long side on this because, but anyway, just so that we can keep, we'll buy it above 1930. And the structure long point is 20. And our stop, we'll use the 1910 also as the same stop. As I said, this is pretty much a crude trade. Just take it as a crude trade. Okay? The next one we're going to do the pound Oz and the pound CAD. If you look at the pound CAD here, you see it's sold off 90 pips, but if you look during the day, during the intraday, this one came from 202 to 200. It came down 200 pips only in the New York session. As I said, it's a crude trade. So if you see that the crude is going up, you want to be shorting this one, and you can take it short below the structure point, which is 202, 200.29. This is going to be our short point, our structure short point, and our short stop. On the long side, as you can see the noise, I mean, this is just a nightmare of a noise. I mean, I will not really touch it unless it goes above the other structure point, which is the 203, not even the 202. So if it goes above the 203, 277, then we're buying it. This will be our long point, our structure long point, and our long stop. So we're buying it below the structure point, and we're buying it above the structure point, and we're selling it below the structure point. The next one is the pound New Zealand. And the pound New Zealand looks like a pretty decent trade. You see, this is a structure point here. This is a major structure point. This is a structure point, serious structure point. So we tested it and we turned around and we ran. So we should have some follow through in the short covering. So we will buy it above the high of the day, which is the 21916. The next structure long point is the 224.30, which is okay. And our stop in this case would be it's going to be a big stop, the 21.1750. On the short side, we're going to go short below the structure point. And this will be a very good trade, simply because if you look at the daily chart here, we broke it on Friday, and I actually took it short that night, and then it turned around, and of course when I saw it doing this was a failure trade, so I reversed and I took it long. So, but if it comes down and breaks it the second time, this should crash. So we'll go short below 1424955. This will be our structure short point, and this is something, one trade you keep an eye on, because this will be like a failure trade. Okay, so we're buying above 2.1916. The next structure is 2.243, and the stop is 2.17. On the short side, if it breaks the structure point, which is the 2.1495, you're looking for a major leg down. So keep an eye on this trade. And if it goes up till here, you can take your profits and reverse it and take it short, because this is a bear market. It will come down and retest this low. So this is a very high probability trade. The next one we want to take is the pound Swiss. Because we took the euro pound, we want to take the pound Swiss. This one here, I think this line is moved, has moved. Yeah, it has. So this is actually here. $141.39. So in all intents and purposes, it's above it, so we can get maybe one more day short covering. If it breaks below these lows, you want to take it short. So the short trade is the easy trade. So we'll short it below 141.39. This will be our short, our structure short, and our short stop. On the buy side, if it gets above the high of the day, which is 142, we can buy it. The next structure long point is the 147. And our stop is going to be the 141.90, 141.39. So the structure long point is going to be the stop anyway. Okay? So let me move this one here. Okay, so this will be our stop on the. We come to our. I don't think we need to do the pound dollar because the pound is weak and the dollar is weak. And when you look at the daily chart, it is going nowhere in a hurry, so we're pretty much wasting our time with it. But what you can look at is the maybe the New Zealand CAD. Again, this is a crude trade, and you can see the sell-off because of the crude. So this again, when you have a trade that's correlated, then it's good. You have one instrument that confirms the move in another instrument. So crude is going up, then you want to take the CAD. And as you can see, it made a 73 pip move. I mean, this is humongous. So we're sitting at the 71 at the structure. So if it goes above, I mean, because it's sitting at the structure, it's a little bit whipsawy. So, but anyway, just so that we can stick to our rules, you can understand that this is the structure point. So above that, we're looking at buying it. And below it, we want to take it below the low of the day, which is 91.50. The next structure short point is 90.499. And our stop is going to be the 91.70. So the stop for the long and the short. Okay. I think this is pretty much covers all the stuff that we need to look at. So here is your radar screen. You can take your screenshots on it. And happy trading, guys. I wish you a fantastic week. Remember, tomorrow, the United States, the markets are closed. So the futures markets are closed in the US. So pretty much most of the action is going to be in Tokyo. The volume is going to be light. So just be aware of that. Okay? And I wish you all the best and have a great trading week.